What is up, everyone? Welcome to episode 3 of the Legends Lounge. I'm your host, Saggy Melons, with my beautiful, amazing co host, RJ. How are you doing this week, RJ?
I'm doing great. It's my birthday back on Monday, so it's been a great week for me, just chilling, playing some Apex and video games. I'm ready to talk some Apex, man.
Yes, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about. So basically, I figured that the quests are part of Apex Legends that started a few seasons back, and it gives us a story. And yes, guys, there is a actual story to Apex Legends. All of the
What? There's
characters,
actually
yeah,
a story in a battle royale game? Are you
there's actually
serious?
stories. There's actually a lot of stories, and it. The reason why these stories are important is because what Respawn has done with Apex Legends is they put voice lines in the game for specific characters when they interact with each other, and without knowing the story behind these characters, you wouldn't really understand why these characters interact with each other the way they do. So I'm here to explain. So first, let's start off by saying hello to everybody here because I do this on my channel, but I should probably do this here because we do have an audience. It's not a big audience, but it's still an audience. So hello to
They're
everyone in
loyal.
the
They're loyal and passionate.
yes, loyal and passionate. They don't care. Some of them don't care about Apex Legends, like this guy right here and this guy right here. But hello, anyways, and Rhea, hello. Thank you for tuning in and checking us out, guys. The ambassador is also here. Howdy, howdy, back to you. So we got to talk about the lore. So Apex Legends, as we know, is in the Titanfall universe. If you are fans of Titanfall, then you're kind of familiar. Now, all of the characters have some kind of like tie to one another. Um, Especially since Valkyrie in this season has come out. She's the direct link to Titanfall 2. She is the daughter of Viper, one of the main bosses from Titanfall 2. She blames Blisk, who was the main villain of Titanfall 2, who was part of this group of mercenaries, and Viper was one of those members, and he unfortunately, we killed him, not Blisk. So sorry, Valkyrie. You're these are not the drones you're looking for.
Yeah, that was messed up, man. We killed a Viper. We killed her dad.
I mean, he tried to kill us, so I think
Oh yeah, he did, but
I mean, it's only fair, but I mean, it sucks. But yeah, since we're getting a lot of characters from Titanfall, obviously Blisk was the first link to the Titanfall universe. He is the first character you see. If you start the game new as a new player and you get to see the opening story, it starts off with Blisk explaining what the Apex Legends games are. And now he's old, so clearly some time has passed since the events of Titanfall 2. Not only that, we have seen Ash, who is also part of Blisk's crew of mercenaries. She was somebody you found during the first quests that came out when Loba was dropped. You do a quest to find pieces to find a Revenant. It's a lot, but at the end of that quest, you discover that you have Ash's head, and when you attach it to her destroy damaged body, she comes back and announces that a new map was coming. So, and we see her again now popping up in this season as well. She is actually the the arena voice in the arena game mode. So that
right,
is
yeah, she's like the big mascot for that mode.
yeah, so Ash is part of that. So we get to see Ash back this season, as well. So again, there's a lot of ties. Aw, thanks you, Rhea. Yes, but this is the thing. So this new season, the quest story is involving these trees, or these branches that are popping up on one of the maps. In game, you can find them, and the Apex Legends characters, since it's on their battlefield where they fight, they're wondering what's going on with these vines. There's interaction between the two characters you see on screen, Loba and Bangalore. Now, people have already speculated that this was a budding relationship since the first season. I'm sorry, first quests. So when the first quests came out, when Loba was introduced during her season, um, there was kind of an issue with Bangalore and Loba. Bangalore didn't trust Loba. She was very skeptical since Loba did show up by blowing up part of the map in game.
Mm.
She destroyed part of Skulltown, which was a very hot zone for players. For those of you who don't remember Skulltown, I'm sorry, but Skulltown was just a very big area, kind of like a city, kind of looked like a little, little suburban area that most players would go to because there was a lot of stuff to loot, and many players went there because that just was the place to go. And Loba destroyed it, and Bangalore didn't trust Loba. But after everything has happened since then, they have developed a friendship, which in this season's story arc possibly might become a love interest because Loba had fallen off of the map in the comic, and she was saved by Valkyrie. And Valkyrie is another character who's very flirtatious, like Loba, and she was kind of flirting with Loba. And then you see a screen cap of Bangalore hugging Loba and looking very jealous with intent at Valkyrie. So it is possible that there is love blossoming on the battlefield between Bangalore and Loba, and also maybe Valkyrie, because Valkyrie actually has new voice lines specifically for Loba, which is very flirtatious on both sides. So it's actually pretty interesting to see if this is actually going to come to fruition. Now, what do you feel about that, RJ? Since I know you don't know much about the lore.
I mean, I'm cool with that. I like how there's banter between the characters. It makes them feel like real, tangible people, not just like skins used to fight. I always enjoy when games give these like characters like this unique personalities. And I think it's cool to like have them like, banter back and forth or even like flirt with each other and like, invigorates the fan base in a way to care about them. So
right. And that's the thing I love about Apex Legends and the lore is that Respawn has been going above and beyond to really give these characters more depth. They're not just characters you pick on the screen and fight with. These are characters that do have personalities and they change, and that's the greatest thing. Each season we get new voice lines to kind of fit what we played as far as like watching the quests, the storyline. So I like that Respawn is putting these efforts into giving these characters actual backstory, even though this is just a battle royale game. There is so much story for every character. And another thing that's amazing is it's important to know the lore behind every character, because every season, every event, they usually have like a trailer come out to announce a special event or the new seasons, and they always put some interesting things in those. The most interesting and most informative trailer they came out with that gave us a lot of insight on some of the backstories we've seen thus far was Pathfinder's Fight Night trailer. And not just his Fight Night trailer, but also his I think it was just his Fight Night trailer. But there was a lot in that trailer. If you go back and look at it, let's take a look actually. Let me get it up on screen. Because let me explain to you how amazing Respawn is with their storytelling and their lore. There's so much. And I definitely want to show you guys just to give you an example of how well Respawn puts this together. And since I do pay heavily attention to the lore, I can explain why this trailer was probably the best and more informative. So let me get this up on screen. And this is a first for RJ too, so I'm very
yeah, I mean, because like I said, I jumped in last season. Some of the lore, like I'm familiar with, some of it not so much, though.
Right. So let's give it a watch, and I'll explain everything.
Malta, a city with no end. The whole planet's a gilded cage, and the canaries screaming.
Now pause right here. You see where my cruiser is?
Mm-hmm.
So that's Forge. This guy who's talking and narrating, clearly an officer, he has a picture with Forge. Now, Forge was a character that was teased to combat the data miners. Now, back when Revenant was announced, the data miners had already figured out that Revenant was going to be the new character for that season. So to combat that, Respawn came out with this character Forge, and Forge was basically announced to be the new legend of the season. We were all wrong. It wasn't Revenant. It was this guy Forge, and then they hyped him up. He even had he still even to this day has a character like description,
Yeah,
skills,
that's
and everything
right.
on the website.
Yeah, they were saying, "Oh, guys, it's not Revenant coming; it's Forge. Forge is your next character." I remember this. And then they
Then
pulled the
they
rug
just
out
killed-
on
yeah.
everybody. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they did that to combat data miners. But it was nice to see here, right here is a perfect example of how they always go back to like bringing the whole story full circle. And that's a picture of this guy with Forge. So that's just a little information about you. Forge was going to be a character, and then Revenant killed him, and it was, hey, look, it's Revenant.
Filthy or filthy rich. Everyone
Hubert Labs, police rule out as arson. Hubert Labs, for again, this is about the lore. Hubert Labs is about Caustic. Hubert Labs is the lab that Caustic was working for. And that's just like I said, if you know the lore, you'd see that and be like, oh, this is about Caustic, the incident that happened with Caustic.
Here's a criminal.
And here we go, another one. This is Loba's father.
Mm-hmm.
And I got them all. All but one.
And there's Caustic, Dr. Knox. Presumed dead.
Now look at me. Guarding scum, shoveling deep-fried pork with plum sauce. I've outlived my purpose. Like
And
this
guess
guy.
who that is?
Oh, it's Pathfinder.
That's Pathfinder.
Pardon me. Can I be of help?
We gotta face facts, pal. Not everyone makes it 12 rounds.
It's my first day on the job.
You miss, there's no second shot.
I'm talking to you, Tin Can!
Oh, good. Security.
Drop it!
Oh, no. Security.
Oh, hold on. Now QW.
Mm.
Hang on. QW has to do in the tattoos. QW is an organization that I believe is either there's a lot of I heard that QW is involved with the people who went after crypto. So that's also possibly, like I said, a tie-in to, connecting everybody together. I also have a theory that QW is also involved with the people in Rampart's trailer. If you watch Rampart's trailer, there were people that showed up
Oh
that
yeah, the people
Rampart was
showed up
part
at their
of.
shop. Yeah.
Right. I think that's also the same organization.
A modified 50 cal Rampart.
A modified 50 cal Rampart. Clearly, again, that's a Rampart weapon. So again,
Mhm.
it all ties in and references other characters. That is a modified gun that Rampart had modified.
Made for murder.
Exciting.
This a game to you, is it?
This is my job.
A professional. Well, so am I.
We don't really know who these guys are yet. But they're looking for Pathfinder.
Who sent you? I want a name!
I want a name, too. What is it?
I'm asking the questions, Coat Rack.
And you're talking. Whatever it takes.
Now I gotta pause this a few times because it goes quick. Now this has been important. Again, this is part, like I said, part of the lore.
Mhm. Oh, it's the arson thing.
Yeah, so that's Dr. Caustic, and this is what happened. Now, see, this is why I also think that I have a theory that Caustic actually wasn't responsible for killing these people. I don't think he was the one that did this. I think that he was framed and he was set up.
I'm fired?
Stop!
Humbert Labs. Knox.
I knew it! The bastard's still alive! No, go back! What else do you see?
5% chance.
And this is also, again, going back to the day that Revenant killed Loba's parents, which should actually tell you kind of how old Pathfinder actually is.
I love how Pathfinder's everywhere. He's just
Oh.
like anytime something major happens, he's there in the background.
I'm also wondering why he had a knife if he was window washing. Because that's another thing. I did a video on this like a long time ago where I was wondering why he had a knife while he was in the window when this happened. Why he, because there's a knife right there. And there's also another scene where he was doing a bomb on the wall. So, and then this with a random baby, which people are speculating could be Watson, which would make sense because of how this ends. But yes, yeah.
Stop!
Pathfinder,
Pathfinder.
we've made you for a great purpose.
Who the hell?
I'll take it from here. Excuse me, friend. I think I'm about to discover my purpose.
Hey!
Okay, so I don't want to play the whole thing because, like I said, those are the most parts where there was like the actual connections. I encourage everybody to go back and like watch these things. Again, if you want to get the actual story of all the characters, but there, like I said, there's a lot of character. Like we saw just in this trailer, there was a lot of information given. If you know the lore, it all makes sense. So that's why I say, the story of Apex Legends is not that complex, but there's a lot. There's a lot more than people actually know or give it credit for.
Oh yeah, no, for sure, man. I love when they do like little animated movies like that, those little animated shorts, because they're always like super high production value, and they really get to like go all full blown action. They serve as great ways to like dive into the characters and stuff. Really, give some backstory to make you care about them. So.
Yeah, stories from the Outland. They always come out with stories from the Outland for more a lot of the characters, especially for certain events. So stories from the Outlands are these shorts that they come out with. I actually use you guys should know this. I use a lot of the stories of Outland animations for my intro on my channel, but they also do, like I said, that clip we saw was like CGI or whatever. But they do the stories of Outlands, and that was one of the stories from Outlands. So each character that comes out with an event specific to them will get their own little story. So far we've had a story for Wraith, a story for Bloodhound, a story for Pathfinder. There's a lot more to come, So I'm actually excited because this season I'm excited for the event coming up. We haven't talked about the event. We'll talk about that next week because there is an event with new skins and stuff coming.
Oh yeah, I didn't hear about this. So
yeah, there's a lot of skins. There are a lot of leaks. A lot of leaks came out, and we'll talk about next week for sure. But again, I think I tell everybody, listen, the lore for Apex Legends is amazing.
Mhm.
They have a lot of shorts. If you go to the Respawn website, their YouTube channel, they have all their lore, and not just that. They have like a lot of hints and stuff in their trailers. Their trailers are amazing, by the way. But yeah, no, there's a lot of lore. Another thing for this season, speaking of lore, is it's a lot about relationships this season. There's a lot of things. So Gibraltar finally got kind of more story because Gibraltar is one of those characters. They gave him somewhat of a story. They gave him some new quips, but they weren't really that like noticeable with character interactions for the most part. The first time Gibraltar's character voice lines have changed was after the season with Loba, and it was mostly with Caustic. So because he was the one who found out that Caustic was a mole, and
oh, okay.
Right. So during the Loba season, the whole story arc there was Loba was hunting for Revenant. Revenant had killed her parents in front of her, so she grew up wanting to seek revenge, but she never was able to locate him. And one of her friends, because she became basically like part of a crime syndicate, she was kind of like the head honcho. And her close friend found Revenant and said, "Hey, he's in the Apex Legends games right now." So she went to search for him and discovered underneath Skulltown, an area that's in Kings Canyon in the game, there was like a factory kind of style thing where there was just nothing but Revenant bodies there. And then Revenant's head, his human head, because spoiler alert, guys, in the Titanfall universe, I don't know if anyone remembers simulacrums. Simulacrums are basically like they're robots, but they still have a human brain, and that comes from their source code, which comes from their human brain. And the human brain for Revenant was underneath Skulltown. And when Loba went there to kill him and kill his source code, because that's how you kill Simulacrum, she basically triggered an alarm, and the head was transported to Olympus, which is why now we are at Olympus. See, the lore explains why things happen.
Okay, yeah, now it makes sense. Like, I like how they tie that into the new maps to explain why we move from place to place.
Right. So we moved to Olympus because of Loba. And Loba unintentionally blew up Skulltown and was discovered by the legends, and were like, what's up? Who are you? Why'd you blow up our map? And then she joined the games. But she had, during the story, she had like recruited some of the Apex Legends guys to help her find where they teleported Revenant's head. And during that duration, Revenant had a spy kind of there, and it was discovered that Revenant wanted Loba to kill him because when he discovered he was a Simulacrum, because what the Syndicate, and I don't know if you guys know what the Syndicate is, but the Syndicate
it's a history class right now.
It is a history class. The Syndicate is responsible for organizing the Apex Legends games. They're the bad guys overall.
Yeah, and they're from Titanfall.
Right, and they're from Titanfall. So the Syndicate's bad. Blisk is part of the Syndicate, but the Syndicate used Revenant when he was a human. They put in a code where he thinks he was a human, and after he killed Loba's parents, he had a injury to his robot head, which made him realize and see him for his true self, which was a murdering killer robot. And because he was upset that was done to him, he wants to die. So that's his story. And when he found out Loba was trying to kill him, he was like, yeah, let's do this. But there was a lot of treachery that happened during that story arc, and Caustic was the mole, and Gibraltar figured that out. So Gibraltar in the game, when he picked up Caustic, he would talk smack to him, or vice versa. That was the first time. But this time around, we're getting more of Gibraltar's backstory. From what we knew so far, Gibraltar's story was his family is part of rescue missions, and they help people. And him and his boyfriend were in a biking accident. They don't get into specific details, but whatever happened during that accident hurt someone that he cared about, and him and his boyfriend had split up because of it. The first time we ever hear mention of this in game is after, during the events of Loba's, season, when he goes, when you're playing as Gibraltar and you go to where Skulltown used to be, he'll make a comment about how him and his boyfriend that's where they met and stuff like that. So that's the first time we ever got some personal thing with Gibraltar. But now in the comics, because the comics too, they're actually posting the comics not just on the game but actually on their website. So the comics on the website give more detail into what happened there. It sounds like Gibraltar was responsible for the bike wreck, but because he was an Apex Legends, or he was going to be, his boyfriend took the fall, and that's kind of what really separated them. And then you find out that the boyfriend at the time when they split had a relationship with a woman and had a child. And we've heard this name Michael. Michael has been referenced in the comic from last season, where Gibraltar bumped into his ex-boyfriend. It was like, how's Michael doing? And I assumed Michael was the ex's new boyfriend, but no, Michael's is his son, who hates Gibraltar for some reason. So it's
okay, yeah, there's a lot of
there's a
layers
lot.
to this.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers.
I was gonna ask you, because I feel like this is an interesting thing to bring up. So talking about lore, out of all the characters, which one do you think had the best lore backstory, and which one did you I guess which character's backstory or lore, their little image traits, did you like the most? I guess.
I would say I like Pathfinders, because that's why I didn't want to play the whole thing, but go back and watch that Fight Night trailer, because Pathfinder's backstory is really interesting. Basically, he woke up one day in a junk pile, and he turned on and had no idea who he was or why he was there, and he's just trying to figure out who made him and why. And then the Fight Night gives you more of an answer, kind of. Something about Pathfinder will help the Outlands, like the whole frontier. Like he's the key to something, but we don't know what. But there is also many theories too. There's a theory that he was built because the woman that we saw on the screen before I paused it. There's a theory that was actually Watson's mom.
Oh,
Yeah, because
okay.
she's French and they didn't give her last name, but her initials P, and Watson's real last name is Paquette. So there's a theory that that's Watson's mother, who created Pathfinder for some kind of reason. But yeah, I'd say Pathfinder has the more interesting story for me, and Pathfinder is just a great character overall.
Yeah, I like Horizon's story where it's like, she was like a space explorer, she had a son, she got like trapped in time. It's like she woke up like now it's like what 15, 20 years later, and she's like trying to find a way to like go back in time to go back to right when she left so you can go back to her son.
Yeah. So did you know? Because you watch that trailer, right? That story.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of it. Yeah.
So the woman that betrayed her, you remember her?
Yeah.
That's Ash.
Oh, okay.
That's why I say knowing a lot of the lore brings more understanding to why the game and the characters are the way they are and why their abilities are the way they are.
Yeah.
But yes, that character was actually Ash.
Yeah, and what's Wraith's whole deal? Because you told me like she used to be a Titanfall pilot, and then she got like these like dimensional powers.
So Wraith's story is she was a pilot, or we speculate she was a pilot, but she was part of an experiment, messing around. So in Titanfall, you actually do have, like, if you notice, if you play Titanfall 2, there is Wraith's abilities are actually part of Titanfall 2. And she was part of those experiments to kind of mess with that technology, and it kind of messed up, and that's how she became the way she is, but it messed with her memory as well. And then if you really want to know a little bit more about her background story, I highly recommend you watch the Voidwalker trailer. That was for Wraith's special event. When you go to Kings Canyon, that event's still there, where that giant portal is. that was her event. But yeah, that's basically how she got her powers, is they were playing around with that technology, and something happened, and it ended up becoming like part of who she is, where she had control over it, where they, instead of having a device. If they made Titans playable in Apex,
there was a rumor that they might be adding Blisk to the game. We wouldn't be able to call in a Titan for his ultimate, but that's just a rumor right now.
The closest thing we've gotten so far to having a Titan in Apex right now is Valkyrie, because her flight capabilities comes from her father's Titan. So that's like the closest we would get to having a Titan at Apex is Valkyrie, because she does technically have Titan abilities where she can fly. Well, she can hover, and she can use, rockets and stuff like a Titan. So that's the closest we would get to a Titan actually in Apex Legends. For the future, I don't know. I know it's kind of interesting that they have Arena, because Arena does feel like kind of like playing an old school Titanfall game, with the exception of the wall jumping and stuff. But it does have that nostalgia feel to it. So I do feel like it's, I know everyone wants Titanfall 3. I'm surprised Carl isn't here talking about it, but I do feel like
right.
I do feel like a Titanfall 3 is still not off the table for Respawn, but I feel like with Apex, that since they have a team focused on that right now, I feel like they're just kind of just trying to see, where this goes. I do feel like these stories could possibly be a build up to Titanfall 3. So that would be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be down for that totally.
Right, because Titanfall 2 was actually really good, and since this story mostly focuses on Titanfall 2, because Titanfall 2 was the only one that had an actual story. But yeah, I do hope that it does seem like, since they're bringing in the characters from Titanfall 2, like Ash and Blisk, and then Viper's daughter, and then, I'm sure there's going to be more characters that might pop up. My question is, what happened to the playable character from Titanfall 2? There's been no mention of that at all.
Yeah, I want to know where BD is, man. I want to know where, like, all that,
Right. Like, there's no mention of that at all, which is, like, the one thing I would say I'm having an issue with, because like we see Blisk, we see Ash, now we have the story about what happened to Viper, and well, I mean, we know what happened to Viper. We killed him. We 100% murdered him, and Blisk is
Cold
taking
blood.
it right in cold blood, and Blisk is taking the blame for it, which I'm okay with because it was a little awkward when I was watching that trailer, and she's like, "You're responsible for my dad being dead," and in my head, I'm like, when you realize it's Viper's daughter, you're just like, oh, yeah, no, we did that. It was us. It wasn't Blisk, but we could just blame Blisk anyway, because you know,
Yeah, it's okay. Bliss kind of deserves it.
Blisk is a very interesting character in Apex Legends because when you first see him, he's explaining the Apex Legends game, which seems appropriate since he does pretty much invite your player to, I guess, the Apex Legends thing or something, because he puts that card on your thing before he leaves after he technically beats you, and then he's like, nah, you come to the games. And I'm just like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And then you see him again explaining the Apex Legends games. Now he's all older. By the way, fun fact, the guy who does the voice of Blisk also does the voice of Caustic. That's JB Blanc.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, and it was really interesting, but the only times you really see Blisk is in the lore. So that's why I tell people too, please pay attention to the lore in Apex Legends, because you guys are gonna miss out on a lot of things that you wouldn't have picked up before, and it also brings more understanding to your gameplay as far as like understanding why characters are the way they are, and I wouldn't even say gameplay. That was a wrong choice of words. Like it just makes you understand the game better, so you can have more fun with it. Like pick different characters, because when I found out that they changed the voice line clips, the first thing I did, I play with everybody anyways, but I'm like, oh, I want to see all the quips for all the characters when they pick up a different character and see what the interactions are, and it makes you want to play other characters just to see like what they're gonna say to each other.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, so it's actually really cool. So this season so far, we have new voice lines, interactions with so far between Wraith and Mirage. We have new voice line interactions with Valkyrie and Loba. I believe there's some new interactions with other characters, maybe not very subtle, but yeah, just play around. But they're very, very important to the story. But I am interested to see where this love story between Loba and Bangalore go, because as you can see,
This is a love story.
It's a love story, man.
Well, kinda. I mean, this hits. We don't know for sure. Maybe it could be Loba and Valkyrie. You don't know.
Nah. Listen, Bangalore needs a buff, first of all. So if you're not gonna give Bangalore a buff, at least give her a girlfriend. Like, I will be happy if you just let Bangalore have a partner. Because, no, absolutely not. Listen, Bangalore is a pretty good character, right? But
I feel like she doesn't get enough. She's like super underrated in some regards. Like I feel like she's just kind of there for some people. Like people don't really like value that character as much.
My thing with Bangalore is like, bro, why would you make a character who can be blinded by her own ability, bro?
Well, yeah. Her smoke is like whenever her smoke is used, it's annoying. But I feel bad for Bangalore players because like you use your own smoke and you get blinded too. So it's like, what's the point?
Right, but see, so in the beginning of Apex, people started getting a little more smart, and they realized the best team to have when you have a Bangalore, the best character to play with Bangalore is a Bloodhound. Because when you use your smoke, Bloodhound can use his sonar thing, and everybody on your team can see where the enemy team is, and that's useful. But man, she's so annoying with that smoke. Like, it's helpful sometimes, but other times it's like, yeah, you're using smoke, and then you get screwed by your own smoke. Like, it's bad. Like,
yeah.
Respawn, please give her. She's overdue for a tweak with her abilities. Every character has all the main characters, I would say the first few characters before Octane and everything. But most of these characters in the beginning, they all have had their abilities changed in some way, shape, or form. Lifeline used to be stuck having to pick up players like everybody else does, but she had that shield to protect her and the teammate. And then they changed that and got rid of that and still had the shield, but then, you could fight, and now they just took the shield away. But I mean, even Mirage got new abilities and his thing. Gibraltar even got a new ability where he picks up teammates faster when they're in the dome shield. So you get a new animation with that too. And it's like, why hasn't Bangalore gotten any love? Like, they haven't tweaked or done anything to her. I mean, I would hate to get her double time passive ability taken away, but man, to be able to see in your smoke, I would sacrifice that double time real quick.
Yeah, for sure. They need to work on Bangalore, give her some love.
They have not given her love, and it's really annoying because, man, she's so underused because that smoke just it's helpful from a distance, but in close combat, that ain't gonna do nothing for you. She's good for getting away. I will say that the smoke helps her get away. I have used her smoke more defensively than offensively. I think they need to tweak it so you can use it more offensively, because as a defense, she's got it, because her double time passive and the smoke to smoke out to get away from your enemies kind of defeats the character, like what her character is. She's a soldier. She's supposed to rush into battle. Her ultimate is catered to her rushing in. Like, people don't realize it, but when she uses her ult, it's supposed to be for characters to use that time when that ult is going down to make the enemy team scatter, but you're supposed to be running through that barrage of missiles popping down.
Right.
So yeah, she's not used properly, and she needs a tweak. But yeah, that's really, I mean, I know we don't have much to talk about. I just, like I said, wanted to talk about some of the lore to kind of get people more interested in the story, because again, there is one, and I think that a lot of people.
Yeah, and it's really fascinating too. Like, I know, like, some people are like, oh, these multiplayer games, they don't really have a story. Like, why should you invest in care? It's like a lot of these battle royale games invest in making you care about the lore and dive deeper into it. Because, like, otherwise, like, why would you care about even playing it or caring about the characters? Like, it's about making the characters feel unique and purposeful. When you play as them, it's like, hey, they have a history with each other. Like, there's like stuff going on in the world that connects to other games you might like a Titanfall too. So I like how Apex does that.
Right, and here's another thing. I like the theories that people come out. I watch a lot of YouTubers. One YouTuber I would recommend, if you guys are ever really, like, if you're new and you're interested in Apex Legends, I highly recommend The Gaming Merchant on YouTube. He has amazing content, and he's very interested in the lore, and he's where I always get, a lot of my info as well. Is he breaks down everything. He's very interested in the lore, so he'll do videos reading the quests and explaining them. And I highly recommend his channel. He's a big YouTuber here, but he has amazing Apex Legends content. So definitely go check him out. And there's actually a lot of theories I saw too. There's other YouTubers out there who have theories, but the one that's fascinating and makes the most sense is, so I don't know, and this might make you think, RJ. So the first time we've ever seen the Apex Legends characters kind of in their natural habitat was when we got Crypto Season, and we got World's Edge as the new map. And in that trailer for that season, you actually see the Apex Legends in their dropship area, and each legend has their own personal space, which was interesting to see. And they all interact with each other like they're all cool with each other for the most part. I mean, Caustic's a little odd man out, but for the most part, they all sit there, hang out, and chill, and talk to each other like they're friends. And you have to think, well, if they're friends, and the Apex Legends games is like a cutthroat battle royale style game, and they're supposed to be, quote, killing each other, how are they still there? So there's a theory
Right.
that the Apex Legends games isn't actually a cutthroat blood sport. It's just like wrestling. It's for the show. So what do you think about that, RJ?
So, like, it's staged, kinda, or like
Yeah.
or would it be like they're games in a way, but like they don't actually kill each other? They're just like fake bullets, maybe? Like it's a spectacle?
Well, I mean, think about the technology in Apex Legends, right?
Mhm.
It's very advanced technology. So it is possible that they're not actually shooting actual bullets at each other, but it could just be like certain weapons, like the weapons they have that just has a technology where it doesn't
Yeah, it's
actually
like a
kill them.
competition show where it's like about who survival of the fittest. Let's see who survives to the end, but like you don't actually die. It's
Right.
more like yeah.
And another thing that supports this theory is when Crypto's stories from the Outlands story came out. The reason why Crypto got into the games and the reason why he's there in the first place is because him and his sister came across a program that would actually correctly like predict, basically would tell you who was going to win the Apex Legends games. And the percentage, like it was like a one of those like programs where you kind of figure out who was going to win, and it would tell you who was going to win. And the sister's idea was like, oh, we have this program, we can 100% use this to bet on the Apex Legends games and make money. And Crypto's like, no, we're going to get in trouble. And then she did it anyways, and then she got kidnapped or something. And like, yeah, so it's like
It's all conspiracies, man.
Right, so I feel like it is the theory that Apex Legends isn't actually a blood sport. They're not actually trying to actually kill each other. It's just for show and just a game. Makes sense, because if that was the case, they'd all be dead.
Yeah, they do one round and then they'd all be dead, and then they have to pick new legends all over again.
Right, so I think that the theory of this being like a staged game isn't, that far-fetched. And again, guys, check out the lore if you are new to Apex Legends. It's worth going into. Also, remember that if you guys have the battle pass and you get those like loading screen pictures, there is text under them, and that's where the lore started. Before they came out with quests, you would get those loading screen
and take the
images.
time to read them, because they can provide little clues about stuff. I remember last season they really died into stuff about Fuse and stuff, and his relationship with his childhood friend whose name I can't remember.
Maggie.
Yeah, Maggie. Yeah.
Yeah, no, everything in Apex Legends, it's not just a battle royale game. I mean it is, but it isn't. There's a lot of lore and story hidden in the game. It's in the form of the loading screen artwork that you get. It's in the form of the quest. It's in the form of going to the website. It's in the form of all of the trailers and the stories from the Outlands that Respawn puts out. It all ties together, and it's all fascinating, interesting, and it gives you more perspective on who these characters are, why they have, the relationships they have, why they function the way they function. If you're wondering, well, why is Bangalore a soldier? Like, what's her story? Yeah, she was a soldier. She was on a mission with her brother, who was a pilot. Something happened. He's presumed dead. She was stuck and abandoned on the planet where the Apex Legends games are. She joins so that she can earn money to go home. So again, there's all these explanations to why all these characters are the way they function.
Yeah. I just found it interesting because I didn't know about the Pathfinder stuff that you talked about tonight. So it's like, for me, it's like, oh, Pathfinder's going to be a big part of the story going forward, because it's like he has like this mystery. Don't know what his purpose is, but he's like the key to something important later.
Yeah. So I mean, I thought, and it's interesting too how they do the story, because the whole story between Loba and Revenant, that eventually had to come to a close, right? Because the whole point is finding his head and killing him. And then, when she finds that out, because she was set on killing him, she's like, he's dead. He killed my parents. And then when she found out he wants to die, that changed for her as well.
Now she wants him to keep living so he can suffer.
Right. And in the voice lines for that the following season were interesting between her and Revenant, because when Revenant first joined the game, Loba was clearly not happy, because if you teamed up with her, if you played as Revenant with a Loba, their interactions were quite hostile. And then after the quests in the next season, they were a lot less hostile, because he would always say, oh, he would pick her up. In last season, the season before, he'd pick her up off the ground, and she would say, I'm not thanking you. And he'll say something like, didn't your parents teach you any manners? And you're like, ooh, damn.
That's what's up.
Right, but then the next season, when she finds out he's trying to help her to kill him, she was a little excited about it. So he'd be like, "Hey, did you find my head yet?" Like
Yeah.
things like that. So
Yeah, and to answer your question, Ugg, I think there are comic books. I don't know if there's anything else. I know there's animated shorts in the comics, but
I don't know if there are physical copies of comics as of yet. I'm sure
so
that's
they're all digital.
yeah, I'm sure they're in the works, but right now there are comics, I believe on the website, but also in game they have quests that like are comics now. Each season they have different artists come in to do the animation for the comics, which I also find interesting for comic book artists, that they do choose different illustrations for each season. So yeah, there are comics out there, but not actual physical books yet. I'm
Oh,
sure
hold
they're
on. There's
gonna do
actually
it.
a comic book coming out in June.
Oh, is
This
there?
year.
Yeah, see,
Yeah, it's called Apex Legends Overtime. It's going to be published by Dark Horse.
oh, Dark Horse, yes.
So an official Apex Legends comic book coming out this June. I just looked it up.
Oh, well, there you go. There's a comic book coming out. So that should be interesting. I will 100% get that book because I love Apex Legends. By the way, for you collectors, they do have Apex Legends toys. I personally don't recommend getting them. I'm not gonna lie. Like
I went on the website. They sell collectibles like hats, clothes. Like
yeah, well,
they have like little
figures.
Netoroids of Wraith and Lifeline.
Well, they have figures at GameStop, and they look nice, but the quality is crappy for what they cost. They're like $20, and they're like the way they look. They're not too bad, but
They're like the Marvel Legends figures, but like a little lesser in quality.
oh, they're awful.
Yeah.
Wrinkle got one. He got a Wraith one, and he said it was awful. So I recommend waiting for those to go down in value. But they do have pops now and stuff. So if you're into collecting, those like that, and you're a
Yeah, I
fan of
might have to get
Apex
some
Legends or whatever-
Funko Pops for sure.
Oh yeah, as soon as they came out, I bought all of them. Every single one of them I bought when they first came out. Even the special ones. So I spent, I think it was like $60 on all of them. It's pretty cool. But all right, guys, I think we've kind of milked this topic for what we could. Definitely, yeah. So definitely, thank you guys for watching. If you're catching this on replay, which most of you guys are, thank you for watching. Make sure you hit that like button. Possibly consider subscribing to the PlayStation Plus podcast channel. Don't forget, guys, every Sunday at 4 p.m. we have the PlayStation Plus podcast official actual podcast where me, RJ, and a bunch of us get together to talk about other games. So if you're not big into Apex Legends, we do talk about other games because we like other games.
Yeah, last week we talked to Mr. Rightway, so that was a great show that y'all did.
Yeah, that you missed.
Yeah, I know, and I'm probably gonna. We'll see. I love coming when I can. It's just got my wisdom tooth taken out, then I got my vaccines. It's been crazy the last couple of weeks, so I always appreciate coming on here and hanging out with Say, talking about Apex.
Yes, because Apex needs more love, and we need to spread it. So again, thank you guys so much for everything you do. Make sure you go check out RJ's channel because he has one, and I have one as well. We're interested in a lot of stuff, guys. So please check us out. Check out the channel page on this channel to check out all of our PlayStation Plus podcast creators here. Check out our individual channels, and if you like us, consider giving us a sub there as well. And
or don't. I mean, if you hate us, then that's okay too.
I mean, that's
still
also
love you
okay.
all.
That's also okay, but that just means you're evil. But all right, y'all have a great rest of your week. And with that said, guys, we'll see you on the battlefield. Later, legends. Stay frosty.